Welcome to Earthsayers podcast series, a program that amplifies the voices of people who care about life on Earth. This weekly series shares the voices of transformational leaders, offering conversations to deepen learning and spark action in today's challenging times. These discussions are framed by the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, from ending poverty to protecting the planet. Leaders in film, sustainability advocacy, and change agents discuss their work and the personal challenges they have met and overcome during their careers. Let's get started and enjoy today's podcast.
Hi, and welcome to Earthsayers Cinema. Today we have Aoife Kelleher talking about her film Mrs. Robinson, which is a documentary film about Ireland's first female president, Miss Mary Robinson. Let's roll the trailer.
I remember spending a lot of time looking out this window. I would look out on the river from my bedroom and dream dreams. There were dreams about making life fairer.
Mary is the most indefatigable woman I have ever met.
This strong, feisty, spirited person that goes in and fights for people that need support.
I'm not sure anybody can keep up with it. She must be Irish.
There comes a time where an individual has to take a stand and be prepared to pay a price for taking that stand.
The Emerald Isle has its first woman president.
The women of Ireland who, instead of rocking the cradle, rocked the system.
I have decided to name Mrs. Mary Robinson High Commissioner for Human Rights.
I was going to try and make a difference and speak truth to power.
I have fight for climate justice. It's for the children around the world.
Mary Robinson has not only shone a light on human suffering, but illuminated a better future for our world.
I suppose I would like to be remembered as somebody who saw the need for change during her life and tried to make as much change as possible. I said, look, I'm too young to be president of anything. She said, Mary, this isn't about f***ing you.
Welcome, Aoife. And could you tell us about yourself and how you got to your career, this trajectory, directing documentaries?
Yeah, so I had always thought that growing up, I had always thought that I was going to be a lawyer, and I think my whole family had thought that I was going to be a lawyer. And at the very last minute, I did a handbrake turn and switched to film school, and from there began working in documentary. And I'm so delighted that I did, actually. So I've been directing documentaries for over 15 years now. There would be a particular human rights focus, I think, throughout my work. So I've made documentaries on minority groups, on the LGBTQ community, on the issue of the Magdalene laundries and mother and baby homes in Ireland, and most recently then on the issue of climate justice with Mrs. Robinson.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I mean, so you have kind of a parallel career to Mary Robinson in that she studied law too, but you're kind of heading in the same direction. You must have really hit it off with her.
Yeah, she is, she really kind of looms very large, I think, in the Irish psyche, insofar as she really changed the presidency, the role of the presidency, forever. She's become this kind of leading, she has really led Ireland in the direction of progress across so many different areas, from reproductive rights and to kind of and civil rights, through to kind of transforming the legal system, particularly with regards to the right of people to access pro bono lawyers, and the rights of women to sit on juries, for example, which, so she's been involved in so many different causes. And so, so getting to spend all of this time with her and, to have her be so open, I think, I mean, there was never a question that was off limits. So, definitely that felt like a privilege.
I understand that Mary Robinson helped found Project Dandelion, which was instrumental in, putting this documentary together. How did this project come to you?
Well, so I was approached in 2018 by Cormac Hargadon, who's the producer of the documentary, and asked if I'd like to pitch to Mary Robinson about making a documentary. And I was incredibly excited actually from the get-go, because she is this kind of extraordinarily significant figure. I mean, I was 8 years old when she campaigned for the presidency, and it was such a transformative moment for me and for, I think, many people around the country, this sense that suddenly, politics and kind of playing a kind of a leadership role within politics was something that was accessible to everyone. A woman could be president, and so that was so significant for me personally, and it was a moment that I really remember very strongly from my childhood. So the idea of telling that story, as well as all that she has done since, the successes, the failures, the ups and downs, and kind of the personal toll as well that her life has taken upon her and her family, was something that I was really excited about. I didn't realize that we were going to be pitching against two other companies, but it turned out that what Mary found appealing about our pitch was that it was going to be this, warts and all treatment of her life, that nothing would be off the table, that she would talk about, the controversial decisions that she's made, the mistakes that she's made, and that she would have a chance to, talk about those from her own perspective.
And how did working on this project change you?
Well, to begin with, it has transformed my attitude to retirement, insofar as, Mary's really inspiring in that regard. She's very open about the fact that she wants to die on the job, and that she views her career really as a fight for justice, and that she's determined to bring about as much change as she possibly can while she's on the planet, and that is really inspiring. The idea that, that leadership, that taking on this role can continue in many different ways throughout the course of a person's life, and that, that you can be relevant on the global stage into your 80s is really inspiring, I think.
Well, this leadership whole role is what really attracted us to the story initially. You were at a film festival in San Francisco, and our founder, Ruth Ann Barrett, was there, and it just knocked her socks off. And then we've been trying to catch up with this to be able to show the film and to interview you and talk about leadership all along the way. So yeah, leadership is so fundamental to why we're having this discussion. But what impresses you most about her philosophy and approach to questions of climate justice and inclusion?
I mean, I think that her capacity to, to tell truth to power, to really call it as she sees it, no matter the personal cost, and the fact that she's done that throughout the course of her life. I mean, she spoke about reproductive rights and contraception as a young senator in an Ireland that was really, very, very conservative, with the result that she received death threats, and she was absolutely denounced from church pulpits up and down the country. And, she really started as she meant to go on in that regard, that when she identified issues, whether it was in relation to, divorce, for example, or the legal system, or human rights issues, she always spoke out about it, and she brings that same level of determination to the battle for climate justice. The willingness to speak out, whether whether the view that she's expressing is popular or profitable or not, and frequently the reality is that it isn't. We continue to see climate change denial. We continue to see people who argue against the science, and it is very impressive that that Mary has consistently spoken out the way that she has.
Speaking of the climate, what are the issues, in Ireland specifically, or Europe, that you see that are not being addressed here in the United States? We have a pile of climate deniers from the top down. But what are the issues that Ireland is facing, or Europe is facing?
I mean, in an Irish context, I think, the science is accepted almost universally, but I don't think the pace of change has followed in the way that you would expect. There's a sense of, the idea that, well, we can't deal with all of this right now, and that the pace of change being too slow. I think, not unlike the States, there are lobby groups that are very powerful in Ireland, and who are really presenting pretty serious obstacles to the kind of transformative change that is required.
But you don't have the drought and the heat exposure, the asthma, maybe proximity to toxic chemicals, or incineration of plastics and stuff. But you don't have the same situation in terms of heat, do you?
Well, I mean, we are, we don't have the same situation with regards to heat, but as you know, Ireland is renowned for, as a very kind of wet and damp country with.
Oh, I've heard that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's only getting damper and damper. We're seeing a lot of flooding, and there's it's really affecting us in that regard. I mean, there's a sense that, I mean, and obviously we're hugely dependent on the Gulf Stream, and and if there's any kind of change to ocean currents, things could get pretty dystopian in Ireland pretty quickly. So I mean, there are many issues.
Yeah, I really love the fact that she seems to promote, women's leadership, and fighting for children, and a future, what I mean, future generations. What specifically is going on currently in Ireland?
With regards to future generations?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like everywhere, I think that, there's always a danger that the progress that has been achieved over recent decades could be reversed. I mean, that was a huge part of what, you know, attracted me to this documentary, is this chance to look back on all that has been achieved in Ireland since, the 1970s and 80s, and remind people of how precious all of that is. Ireland has become so much more progressive, so much more pluralistic. It's a much more tolerant nation than it was 50 or 60 years ago, and to kind of acknowledge that, and to really shore up all that has been achieved. I think, like everywhere, we're seeing political shifts, and an increasing tendency to divisiveness in politics, and it's very important that we protect all that we've achieved, and try not to follow in the footsteps of our neighbors, I think.
It seems like this documentary is really aimed at the heart. You know what I mean? Not so much the head, but the heart, to help people, engage, and be conscious of the positive possibilities or what needs to be addressed. So, did you kind of consciously go after that more emotive set of arguments?
Well, I think that there was a moment in Mary Robinson's presidency, which is captured in the film, where um, she really, as she would have described it, let her emotions get the better of her. She had been in Somalia, she had witnessed the famine there firsthand, and she was giving a press conference in the aftermath of that. And she became emotional, she became tearful, and she regarded this as, a really significant failure on her part, that this was a failure of leadership, and the idea of becoming emotional when talking about, a serious issue was, to be discouraged. And yet, that moment and the fact that she became emotional turned out to be very impactful and really kind of capture the attention of the global media. And I think that was a really important moment for Mary, where she realized that actually letting people in and that leading from the heart could be very powerful. And I think it's something that she has imbued into her leadership ever since. She talks about leading from the heart. She talks about how people can't be won to the cause of climate justice through science and data alone. That that there has to be this leadership from the heart. That there has to be a sense of positivity, of optimism, and also and a sense that we together we could create a better world.
Yeah, so Mary has espoused the idea that your voice is your superpower. Beyond this documentary, Aoife, what is your superpower?
Well, I mean, as a filmmaker, I think that, and particularly in documentary, the huge power of documentary is that it can give people a platform. So I really see myself as someone who who is facilitating others to tell their stories, and hopefully to kind of capture people's attention. Yeah, I mean, I think that whether it's kind of bringing marginal stories into the mainstream, or highlighting stigmas or oppression or mistreatment, I think that's the power of documentary.
Um, there's a lot in this documentary that to feel strongly about and take action for those that are most affected by the climate change, and I think that's what Mary talks about a lot. Is like basically taking action on behalf of others, the people that don't have time, they have three jobs, or can't figure out, how to approach this. It seems very empowering, and I think it's kind of like a permission slip to, be relevant and do something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a big part of her message really is that, it's not about a small number of individual leaders taking steps exclusively on everyone's behalf, that it is about kind of building a broad consensus about achieving this sense of solidarity, and that, and that once that is achieved, that's when real change is possible. I mean, the presidential campaign that she ran in 1990 was extraordinary insofar as it created just this widespread sense of optimism in a country that had been, that was it had experienced mass unemployment and economic depression, and where there was a real sense of um the kind of a sense of almost theocracy, that people's lives were so limited in so many ways and circumscribed. And the opening up that she achieved was really something that everyone that felt like it belonged to everyone. And I think that is that capacity is a really important part of leadership, the creating kind of a widespread feeling of solidarity, feeling that you're part of a broad movement, and that and that there is a place for everyone in that.
Yeah. So I understand that you are a university teacher and you've written a book. I mean, no grass grows under your feet. You're firing on all pistons, or I don't know, there's maybe a better expression having to do with electric batteries, but you're getting all the traction. Tell us about your book. Tell us about your teaching profession.
Well, I mean, actually, I have to say that I just get to do a lot of things that I really enjoy, to be honest. Actually, working with, teaching young people and spending time with them is hugely re-energizing. It's something that Mary talks about as well, that actually it creates a huge sense of optimism, I think, and it really, it's just teaching people about filmmaking, about documentary, about history and politics. Really, I find it hugely enjoyable. Writing books, actually, sometimes I find less enjoyable, insofar as it's lovely to have written a book, but actually the process is so can be so solitary and kind of almost like this battle royale with your own psyche. So yeah, I wrote a book, but well, I made a documentary about an Irish guard, a woman who had been a recruit to the Irish police force, and while a recruit, she became pregnant. The father of her child was another Garda recruit, and she was forced into giving up her child for adoption. So I made a radio documentary about that, and then assisted her in writing her memoir. And after that experience, even though it was hugely meaningful, I swore that I would never write another book again. But actually, I've just started to write a new one, and it's just a case of, when you find a wonderful story, you just have to surrender to it, basically, and give up your life to it.
Oh my gosh, it is torture. It takes a long time. You have to be so patient. All right. So what in terms of documentaries, what's next for you?
So I have so my next documentary is called Testimony, and it's going to be released in Ireland and the UK in November. It is a story of the Justice for Magdalene's campaign. So I mean, many people I think will be familiar with the story of Ireland's institutions, the Magdalene laundries, the mother and baby homes, the industrial schools, and the terrible mistreatment of, in particular, women and children that took place in those institutions. So this is the story about, it's a small number of women and one man who basically spearheaded the campaign from their sitting rooms. They were just working in their spare time. They were working entirely pro bono. So it's a collection of lawyers, academics, social workers, and activists who together formed the Justice for Magdalene campaign that has really been extraordinarily consequential in getting justice for the survivors of the Irish institutions. So it just tells the story of that campaign.
We're all in on you and your project and Mrs. Robinson, and we thank you so much for sharing all this with us. And we hope to hear more from you, and you'll be hearing more from us about this interview and all the other things that we're doing. So really, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it so much. And wow, what a lucky day when you said, "Oh, I'm not going to be a barrister. I'm going to do this."
But it really has been such a pleasure to speak to you today.
Well, thank you so much.